Welcome to another module of the immersive SmythOS course. In this comprehensive series, we will be diving deep into the powerful features and best practices of SmythOS. Before we begin our journey, let me give you a quick overview of what you can expect in this module. We will start by mastering LLM prompts and enhancing prompting techniques. Then we will decode JSON and API responses essential for data handling. We'll explore the advanced use of classifiers to categorize content efficiently. You will learn about error handling and debugging to troubleshoot your agents. We will unleash the power of code components and custom scripting. We will cover best practices for agent development to create robust workflows. Finally, we will dive into data manipulation and transformation techniques. Each video will build on the previous ones, giving you a comprehensive understanding of SmythOS. Now, let's begin with our first topic, mastering LLM prompts and enhanced prompting in SmythOS. In this video, we will unlock the power of language models through effective prompt engineering and SmythOS unique features. In this session, we will cover three key areas: the basic structure of LLM prompts, understanding enhanced prompting specified to SmythOS, and the importance of proper formatting and delimiting in prompts. Let's start by examining the basic structure of an LLM prompt.
So what we're going to look at today is the orchestration of LLMs and prompting. We did kind of explore some of this as we looked at some of the homework results and what people are trying to accomplish and what we're looking at. But we're gonna dig down deep so that you can understand more fundamentally what the LLM prompt does, in particular within Smyth, as well as how you can be more effective with your prompts. And then how we can actually take those and chain them in ways that you saw some of earlier today, with the way that we had to rearrange Leanne's so that it was actually doing the right thing, and how workflows really do need to be kind of independent, one and done sort of workflows. There's branching inside of a workflow, but there is no looping, right? There is no kind of interact and then come back. The way that you come back is always via that API endpoint, right? And you can come back to the same API endpoint multiple times with more information, more parameters, etc. But ultimately, it's you start, you end, and you come back to the whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's a chatbot or a web form or a webhook. Okay. So in this process, we are going to look specifically at 5 different prompts, with most of our focus being on the LLM prompt and the classifier. Specifically, we're going to look at the LLM prompt. I know you're like, oh my gosh, we've already looked at this thing. I understand everything there is to know about this, but I promise you, you haven't. There's some things that are specific to Smyth, and then there's some things that are not. And so what I want to show you is, so we started to look at some of the things that you could do with an LLM prompt. And by the way, these are, I want to be very specific here. When you see, for example, here in my LLM prompt, you're going to get, so this is very, very basic, right? So first of all, does anybody think that this will work? Can I get a show of fingers? Yes? No? Thank you. Anyone want to tell me in the messages why it will not work? And there's all kinds of hints on the screen for you.
There is no phrase for starters.
There's what it is this input doesn't exist. Quote exists, but input does not. So if I try and run this, I've got debug running, and I put in what do you think will happen here? It came up with its own thing. Why? Because this input does not match with this input here quote. This kind of thing happens because this is the default. So you want to make sure that if you rename your input, that you also change things, right? There we go. Now, if we try and run this again, we'll get a different response.
As Mike demonstrated, the basic structure of an LLM prompt is crucial. Now, let's look at how SmythOS enhances these prompts.
This is the very, very foundation essence of what LLMs do swimmingly. So the thing is when you take a look at this, it's how in the world did it figure out that source and completed phrase should be there? This is something that comes as a part of what we call the enhanced prompting inside of the LLM prompt or LLM component. What I mean by that is when I take a look at this log, by the way, this log is very, very useful when you start to run into questions or issues. It will show you a lot. And if it ends up getting really, really long and it truncates the input, go ahead and drop it into your downloads and then open it up in a text editor. But this actually shows you, okay, it shows you the parsed prompt is right here, right? Which means it's kind of expanded the variable to show you what this is going to be. So this is the parse prompt, and this is the enhanced prompt. So it looks pretty good right up to here, and then it breaks it out. And this is all coming from SmythOS, the enhanced prompt. In other words, what it does to enhance things based on the fact that we've put those other variables there. It says, here's my expected output. This is really, really important to understand. What I'm going to do here is just for the fun of it, I am going to close this, delete this, run this again. So what we have is that input, which is the same input that we had before. But now what you could see is the output is different. And not only that, the LLM has done its wild and interesting thing and actually identified a source a little differently. And this is what my friend Rich calls the stochastic nature of LLMs. So here's the completed phrase, and here's this. So this is nice, but I know that I want to be able to work with those separately, which is why I go ahead and turn off debug and then add the outputs of what I want that I know can be identified by Smith. And this is specific to Smith. You can't do this in other, like for example, in ChatGPT, it may or may not figure it out. But Smith is specifically designed with the enhanced prompting to take a look at the outputs, the inputs, the prompt, and actually generate the enhanced prompt or the enhanced output that you can work with. So in that case, we want to pull the source, and we want to identify the completed quote, right? So again, run it real quick. And once again, we have this, but now it's actually identified the source not as typing, but actually as Charles E. Weller, which is an interesting thing. So let's say we want to find out a little bit more about the source as part of our process here. So what we're going to need to do is go ahead and add our input here. And once again, can someone tell me what's wrong with this one? Go ahead and pop it into chat. This input I deleted. I need to add in the quote source instead. Awesome. Thank you, Leanne. All right. So now what I want to do is not summarize this, but actually Everyone see what I've done there? How I've used the parameters, put that in, very, very basic, but capable. Let's say I want to up the ante on this and actually use something a little bit more intense. All right, let's go ahead and run this. Again, I can take a look at the log and see the enhanced prompt, right? So it took the parsed prompt, which is what I wrote, and then added the enhanced piece, specifically identifying the output, and that the output should be JSON only, and use the entries from the output format. And there's the output generated result that we see when we take a look here.
SmythOS enhanced prompting adds powerful capabilities to your LLM interactions. Finally, let's discuss the importance of proper formatting and delimiting in prompts.
All right, and then here's the source and here's the quote. Let's see who the heck Charles Weller is, if we can. Well, that wasn't very helpful, was it? So what's our problem here, do you think? I'd like to get some people to actually drop some information in the chat. What do you think the problem was with this piece? How could we fix this? What I'd like to see someone put some example prompts to replace. Give me a background for this source of the quote. Da, 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 and then Charles E. Weller. Please, folks, really important that you engage with the material here. And there is a right answer, but there are plenty of right answers. Let me put it that way. And there's plenty of things to be learned, especially from answers that may not be perfect, right? So please, let's take a minute and take a look at this prompt and tell me how you think we can actually get it to tell us about Charles E. Weller. How can I improve upon this? Can anybody give me some ideas? So this comes into kind of how you build your prompts and what you should do, right? There's nothing like super horrible about this when you take a look at it. You might ask this inside ChatGPT and expect to get a good answer. It's important, and one of the things that we can do to help prompts is when we give them context, right? Because it doesn't know what the heck, right? Each one of these LLMs works completely independently. It doesn't really know what the last prompt did or why it did it and what it was asked to do. The way that Smith works, there's no memory here, right? Not with the LLM prompt, with this LLM prompt specifically. So you have to actually give it something that it can work with. So that means that in a lot of cases, you have to give it more context. And in some cases, you want to delimit things, right? This is just a big blob of text. And sometimes even example outputs can help, right? So what's the first thing people want to try? Should we provide it with context? Should we provide it with examples? Should we provide it with delimiters and formatting? What do we want to try to improve upon this prompt?
Maybe start with context.
Sure. So what will we do for this particular thing in terms of giving it context? Let's do something like let's give it, first of all, a persona on how to approach this. Okay, so that's one thing we've done here is we've given this particular LLM, and we're saying, here's who you are. You're a history expert. Focus on fact finding and identifying sources of information, find background, because that's kind of what we want this to be, right? We're looking for the LLM to act like that, right? Then the other thing I'm going to do is provide nice big space here, right? So some delimiters. I'm not just throwing this all into one run-on sentence. Okay, so I'm going to provide some context. If we just try this, do people think this will give us a better answer? Or will it give us a worse answer or not good enough yet? This phrase is often attributed to Charles Lee, a typing instructor, was believed to have created as a typing drill. The exact words are unclear. So a much better answer to explain the source of this. Anyone want to give me, let's try this out and see. So we've got it working for Charles Weller with just that. Can anyone tell me or give me a quote in here that they would like to like that one? That would be good. Call a spade a spade. So let's, first of all, let's go ahead and go into here, and what we want to do next, stop here. We're going to change this, and we're going to give it just call a spade a, and see how that does first. Did it give us a good one? Yep. It's just to make sure here, call a spade a spade. And now let's take a look. Oh, that's interesting. Is that actually the correct source? Let's actually take a look. Very interesting. Is that actually correct? So do we need to do some fact finding? So Elliot gave us a great one. So this is an example of where a very I can't remember, there's a specific fallacy where we attribute something to one thing and it's actually very misinterpreted a lot of the time. So this actually makes for a very interesting way of doing things. The one key thing I wanted to make sure that people get out of this is number one, when we are actually working with prompts and we're not getting what we want out of it, it's probably because we're not doing a great job of formatting and putting together our prompts. And that starts with using things like delimiters and formatting and actually making sure that we're being very clear and succinct with what we do, splitting things out, right? Providing context, providing a persona, right? Helping the LLM to know how it should approach this and giving it background in making that happen. Okay, those are some core things around prompt engineering that everybody should actually understand.
As you've seen, proper formatting and delimiting are essential for effective prompt engineering. To recap, we covered the basic structure of LLM prompts, explored SmythOS enhanced prompting capabilities, and highlighted the importance of formatting and delimiting. These fundamentals will serve as a strong foundation as you continue to develop your skills in prompt engineering and working with SmythOS. In our next video, we'll tackle the intricate world of JSON and API responses in SmythOS. We will show you how to handle complex JSON structures, use JSON filters to extract specific data, and navigate nested JSON objects and arrays. Get ready to level up your data handling skills and make the most of your API interactions. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.